What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to episode 7 of the Nosebleeds podcast. We apologize, but we did not come out with an episode on Monday. We had a couple things that we had to deal with ourselves, some personal issues. But we are back, still coming out every Monday and Thursday at 3 p.m. on YouTube. So make sure you go check that out. We also have videos uploading every other day, or every day actually, of just little sections so you don't have to watch the entire thing if you don't want to. But we are still coming out every Monday and Thursday at 3 p.m. But more news broke. We talked about the Redskins in the last podcast that we uploaded, and we talked about that, like, their name change, how they weren't going to use any Native American kind of like terms or images or anything like that that would be offensive. So they basically are 100% changing their name. They have about a couple weeks, I don't even think it's a month, to change their name. But there's no update on that. But there is an update that the Washington Post came out with, saying that I think it's like 8 or so. I think it's 8, but I could be wrong with the number. Women came out saying that they were sexually abused, sexually harassed while working with the Washington Redskins. And this goes from cheerleaders to just normal workers that worked in the main building. And for something like, and apparently this has gone on for like the last like 12 to 15 years, and not one thing has been said or done. Like the cheerleader news saying that they had to pose like nude for some photo shoots and stuff came out, and it just kind of like went over everyone's head. It wasn't like, or it didn't seem to be that big of a deal. Um, but that has kind of come out again, along with just sexual harassment allegations against like the Washington Redskins, like a bunch of different people, a bunch of different employees. Um, Honestly, though, I just think the Redskins need to restart. They need to fire everyone, and they just need to rehire different people, and just completely restart with whatever name they pick. Because the Washington football team is not looking so good.
No, it's not. But it could have been so much worse, which is, I feel like, relieving for Dan Schneider himself, not for anyone else. But the day before the article came out, I forget who did it. I think it was maybe The Athletic or something who put out the article.
Mm-hmm.
But the day before, you heard so many stories that were almost horrifying to hear about. And not that what came out wasn't horrifying, because no one should have to deal with what those women had to deal with in a workplace. But compared to what was said the day before, if those were all true, Dan Schneider would have 100% been out as an NFL owner already. Where now I feel like he gets a little bit of a break because he could say that he didn't know that was happening, and it wasn't as on the owner as it had seemed it might have been on the day before. So relieving for him, but it definitely shows that that organization is just like terribly run from top to bottom, and I feel awful for anyone who has to deal with that in the workplace. It shouldn't happen, but like you said, that organization needs to figure it out, and needs to figure it out quickly.
Well, with that, like the things that it came out through the Washington Post, which really was just the sexual harassment allegations. There was multiple sources that were talking about like the sex parties, the drug abuse and alcohol and everything in the locker room. Like there multiple sources came out with like that. So like maybe it was just the Washington Post just put like reporting on the sexual harassment, and maybe, I mean, because there is an investigation going on, but maybe there was sex parties, alcohol and drug abuse in the locker room and stuff, but that just wasn't like reported on because it was just supposed to be to get the point across of sexual harassment out. Because it's not like there was like one woman or one person saying that. It was multiple. Like multiple women said that. So then like that might have just been their story instead of just to take it away from them to do like sexual harassment, drug and alcohol abuse, and things like that. Like I don't know if I'm not saying they're true. I hope they're not true, because then if that they're true, that organization, although it's been bad in the past and it's been bad recently, it would be as if they literally had like no future at all if any of that actually is true. Because like more or less what I'm saying is maybe the Washington Post just didn't report on that. They were just reporting on the sexual harassment allegations. Because multiple sources, or multiple people, should I say, came out saying that they had sex parties, they had drug and alcohol abuse, like they had things like that. So like I'm not saying they are true. I hope they're not, because I mean that should never be done, especially in a professional workplace like in the NFL. But like maybe they are, and the Washington Post just reported on that.
And I don't know if you saw this, but DJ Swearinger, he was the safety for them for a couple of years. I think he's on Houston now, or at least he was on Houston. He tweet or when the rumors were starting before the article about Jay Gruden, the
Yeah.
former Redskins head coach, being involved in some of these, he put up an Instagram post of a text message he received because apparently he was in a relationship with person that Jay Gruden was also having a relationship with, and the text messages that you get from a head coach should not be anywhere near the text messages that DJ Swearinger was getting. He was getting messages saying like, "Oh, let's fight," like you're a head coach, like it's supposed to be like an employee kind of relationship, and it just seemed like it was a mess over there. And hopefully Ron Rivera could turn around, but that whole scenario and what's happened through it is just looked terrible for the Redskins. I mean, not the Redskins, the Washington football team, but it's looked.
Oh,
bad
it's
for
been
them.
extremely bad, and I feel like they're putting a lot of hope in Ron Rivera, but at the same time, like if anyone's got to turn it around, I feel like Ron Rivera can. He's the kind of person and the kind of coach that is going there to not only change a culture but change a team, or change an organization. Like he's going to change so many things while he's there with Washington. And I mean, like, let's be real. Like the way coaches get fired and everything, like he could have gone to so many different places. I feel,
Yeah.
but like the fact that he chose Washington is shocking to say the least. But I mean, he's going to change so many things that I mean, without him, I don't know if the Washington football team is where they will be or where they can be, should I say? Like that.
Yeah, I've seen people.
No, you go.
You
You
go
go.
ahead. I've seen multiple people saying that Ron Rivera deserves some coaches sometimes get a percentage of the team,
Yeah.
and I feel like if any coach in the NFL deserves it, Ron Rivera is definitely one, especially with what he's had to put up with so early on in his he's been the coach for what 3 months, 4 months at this point, maybe a little
something
bit
around
longer,
that.
and he's already had to go through allegations. Well, not him, but the team has had to go through allegations of sexual harassment. All those rumors that came out, and then you have a name change because the name is not to par and anything that should be used as a term anymore. And he's had to put up with with all these things, and he hasn't even been able to coach one game yet. So it's just crazy. He definitely does, in my opinion, he definitely deserves ownership of the team over other coaches in the league that have that.
Oh, 100%. Especially since the way he's going to probably change the team for the better. Like I feel he's one of the few coaches that is able to do that. Like most coaches, when they go in, they're just going into coach. They're going into put in their offense, their defense. They're going in to change the way like some people are, but like realistically, they're just going in to coach and try to win. Where Ron Rivera is literally going in to do that and change an entire like culture of an organization. So I don't know, maybe it's a bit like bit of a reach for the Redskins because they probably want it done extremely fast, but it is not going to be done within the first 2 years of Ron Rivera being there. I mean, maybe it is, and then you give Ron Rivera even more credit than I feel people are going to give him. Because let's be real, none of that credit is going to Dan Snyder. He's been there for how long and nothing has changed. And all of a sudden, these allegations come out, and he's like, "Oh yeah, things need to change. They should have never been like this." Well, I mean, you literally own it. Like you're the first person that has to change something.
He took that organization that was in the past before Dan Schneider took over, was one of the top organizations in the league. Like you always heard of the Washington Redskins having these great players competing for championships, and then he takes over, and not that it's been a laughing stock because they've had some like decent teams, but the organization as a whole has been a laughing stock with the way they've handled situations.
No, yeah, 100%. And now like the Ron Rivera really needs to change something big because Dan Schneider isn't going to go anywhere near any of that. Like he's just not. So it's a lot of it is based on what Ron Rivera can do, And I mean, hopefully he can like do it. Like I hope he can, but it's not the Redskins are not in a great spot at the moment. But uh, Ron Rivera or not Ron Rivera, Dan Schneider basically said that he was just gonna like make sure things got changed, and that's kind of like all he came out with. Where like it shouldn't have even been in that situation in the first place, in my opinion. Like no other professional team that we know of has had any issues like this. Like none.
No.
But I don't know. The Washington football team needs to figure it out because they have to get done with these allegations, the investigation, and then they have to come up with an entire new brand more or less by like within like 2 weeks time, so that way they can get everything out. They can start selling uniforms. They can start like selling like merchandise and everything, because again Nike took down everything. They have a lot to do in the next month, a lot.
A lot.
But moving on,
Yep.
the MLB starts Thursday tomorrow. Wait, is it tomorrow? Yeah, I think it is.
It's tomorrow. The day this comes out,
Yes.
it will be that night.
Yes, it starts tomorrow. We were just gonna go over what are your predictions. The MLB came out with they put on their Instagram page. We'll put that up for you, both for the AL and the NL. Like their predictions on how they think it's gonna finish. It looks kind of weird. I'm not gonna lie, because again they're only playing 60 games instead of 162, so it's weird to see the top of the AL East. For example, the Yankees having 34 wins and 26 losses. Like that just looks really weird to look at. But what are your thoughts? They MLB had, I believe it was like 3 to 4 like preseason games. Teams kind of did it with anyone that was close to them. So like the Yankees played the Mets twice, then they played the Phillies. But yeah, the season starts up tomorrow. I'm excited because me as a Yankee fan, I get to see Garrett Cole, brand new signing, probably one of the best pitchers in all of baseball. Take the mound for the first time against the Washington Nationals, and I believe he's going against Max Scherzer. So that's going to be one hell of a game. I'm very excited for that. But the Yankees also looked really good in the 3 games they played, like their hitting and everything. So I'm extremely excited. Give me your thoughts, because you're a Mets fan. What are you thinking?
I mean, I think this is going to be a great season. I feel like we've waited so long for baseball, and I mean, I've never been a huge baseball fan. I obviously watch the games. I've never been a person that's dived into the into depth on the sport itself, but I'm so excited to watch it. Obviously, I feel like the Yankees Nationals to open up the season is like the best game they probably could have put out there. They have the champs from last year, was probably the biggest known sports team in probably the entire world. I mean, I know soccer's or football in other countries is bigger, but like the New York Yankees is known as like that premier sports organization. So to have those 2 teams open up the season, I feel like the viewership is going to be like as high as it possibly can. And I can't wait to watch it. I mean, I even see on FanDuel for betting, I've been getting into it. The Yankees and have a huge super boost, I think, from Pat McAfee on it. And I'm going to make a bold prediction. I think the Yankees are going to smack the Nationals tomorrow to open up the season.
Yeah, the Nationals lost a couple pieces. They lost Rendon. Rendon moved on to the Angels. They still have Juan Soto. They still have a good team around them. It's not like the team is bad. But yeah, Rendon has moved on to the Angels, so he was a big part of that team last year. They do have a couple young third basemen that they can take up. I don't know if they're going to. I haven't actually looked at the Nationals and see how they might line up. But you as a Mets fan, the NL East, which is obviously the Mets division, has the Mets, the Nationals, and the Braves all sitting at 33 and 27, with the Phillies at 30 and 30, and the Marlins sitting in last at 26 and 34. What are your thoughts? Do you think the Mets can take that division, or do you think they're going to kind of sit in the middle and fall behind the Braves and the Nationals, who in the past couple years have been a very, very good ball club?
Yeah, I mean, the NL East is insane if you really think about it. I feel like the Mets roster, getting Yoenis Cespedes back, the team is underrated in my opinion. I mean, they struggle when you go to the bullpen. I mean, they have great starting pitchers. Obviously, Noah Syndergaard's out for the season. But even then, their starting pitchers are great. When you go to the bullpen, it falls off a little bit. But having the Braves and the Nationals in your division already, and I mean the Phillies, they didn't click last season, but also having them in the division, like it's a tough division to win. So I don't know. I feel like if the Mets play their best ball, they have a chance to finish at the top of the division. Win it might be a long shot, but somewhere I feel like they're gonna finish somewhere in
I
the
just
middle
want to
of the
let
pack.
you know, according to MLB.com, the Mets are sitting with the seventh best bullpen.
They always rank their bullpen high, but just they said the same thing last year. Just when the Mets starting pitchers go out, I don't care about their. When their starting pitchers go out, the Mets lose leads. They do. They get it in the beginning and they lose them almost.
The
They lose them
seventh
so
best bullpen
much.
and the eighth best rotation. They're
I'm
also
telling you, it might seem good, but just watch. They're going to go up so many games like always, and then just choke in the seventh,
look
eighth,
they're
and
also
ninth inning.
they're also sitting
Happens
with the
every year.
sixth best lineup. This is all according to MLB.com. But I
Yeah.
mean, the Mets are ranked very highly, and I mean like they're obviously sitting in first, third place with the predictions. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel like the Nationals are going to be a team to watch. Obviously, they still have Scherzer, they still have Strasburg. They still are a very good team. So I think they're going to be good. They did lose like Rendon, but I don't think Rendon is going to have that much of an impact as one player leaving. Um, I still think they're a very good team. The Braves, they're still extremely good. Like they didn't really lose many pieces. I don't think their pitching and bullpen is as strong as like maybe the Nationals or the Mets. I think the Phillies are gonna have a bounce back year. The Phillies, they didn't have a terrible year. They still got Bryce Harper. They signed Didi Gregorius from the Yankees in the offseason. Yeah, I don't think they're bad. I think the Phillies might have a better year than the 30-30. We have the MLB.com has the Yankees finishing in first upon the AL East. They have the Twins finishing atop the AL Central. And in the West, they have the Astros finishing in first. Just not a big fan of the Astros. I kind of hope they lose every game. Just hope most of them get pegged. First of all, no, not first of all, but like you cheated for 2 to 3 World Series, right? And you
Yep.
lost one of them.
Yeah.
Like the last year,
That's
they
rough.
got to the World Series, and you lost. Like if you're gonna do it, you gotta win. Like
It's mind
more or
blowing
less,
to
you're
me.
just
I
bad at
mean,
cheating.
yeah, pretty much.
Like I,
But like, they already got who they had their scrimmage against the Royals on Tuesday night,
mm-hmm.
and I mean, it seemed like it was by accident, but like, who really knows? Jose Altuve and Bregman, they got hit on back-to-back pitches, which I thought was hysterical.
Did
I
they?
feel
I
like you're
actually
gonna
didn't
see
see
that
that.
a
Oh,
lot
you
this season.
100% are. Bregman's gonna get hit a lot. I
Yeah,
feel. Bregman Correa.
honestly, when he hit Altuve, it didn't look intentional. It kind of looked like it was a little inside by accident. The one that hit Bregman was like, it definitely like he hit Altuve and he was like, you know what, I'm gonna hit Bregman too. Like he was definitely playing
Yeah,
at that point.
I didn't know that. Yeah, the AL West is interesting. They have the A's having a really good year. I think the A's are a decent ball club. I don't think they're. I feel like they're just really young. But they can definitely do some damage. The A's, the addition of Rendon is big. They obviously still have Mike Trout. I don't think they're a bad team. I think with a couple more pieces they can be really good, but I think they need to fix like that bullpen or they need to fix like that pitching rotation. They have Otani, which is obviously good on both sides of the ball, but it's not. Again, one player does not impact a roster so significantly. The way like the best example I have is Manny Machado. Manny Machado going to the Padres was not going to automatically make the Padres have a positive record. There's a lot that goes in. Obviously, signing Manny Machado helps. Don't get me wrong, it definitely helps. But signing Manny Machado does not be like, oh, yo, we're going to have a really good year this year. And I mean, the Padres do have a
Yeah.
decent rotation. They have a very good bullpen. But you need more pieces around Machado, and they have Tatis, who's extremely good. They just signed Tommy Pham from the Tampa Bay Rays. So that was a good signing. But they're moving up. Like they're predicted to finish second in the NL West behind the Dodgers. But again, one player does not impact your entire roster so significantly that you're all of a sudden going to go from you're down from 500 by 6 games, and now all of a sudden you're over 500 by 6 games. Like that's, and now don't get me wrong. I guess it could happen, but that would not everything's on that one player. That requires everyone else around you to do well as also. Yeah. So I think the A's could have a decent year depending on how the rest of their team winds up. I mean, obviously Mike Trout, he's gonna have a good year no matter what. He's just really, really good. Ohtani, very good. Rendon, if he continues over from last year, he's pretty good. The rest of their team is not bad. Don't get me wrong, they're not bad, but they're not where the young A's are, or they're not where the Astros in their division are. And then you have the Mariners and the Rangers below them. The NL East, you have a tie between the Braves, the Nationals, and the Mets, with the Cubs taking the the Cubs and the Brewers tied for the NL Central. These are just predicted standings from MLB.com. But I'm going to be honest, I feel like the Brewers are probably going to end up taking that division. I think the Reds could make a little bit of a run. I don't think they're a bad team. The NL Central is probably the closest, if I'm going to be honest. And then the NL West, they have the Dodgers taking it over everyone else. But I don't think any of those teams are good enough to challenge the Dodgers, especially with the Dodgers getting Mookie Betts. I think they had an extremely good roster already, and then you just got to add an extremely good piece to it. I feel like the Dodgers just kind of had a really, really good offseason. So they've just done a very good job themselves. But, yeah, I'm excited for baseball to finally be back. I'm excited to finally watch and just... It's going to be good. It's going to be good to finally watch and relax. Just chill.
Yeah. It's going to be the first sport that I feel like that's exciting. It's not going to be in a bubble. I know they're still not going to be fans, but to see, teams not playing on the same fields or the same courts every day, I feel like that adds, a little bit of excitement, a little bit of normalcy to sports. I mean, obviously watching the MLS is great still. It's sports. It's competitive. It gives them something to play for, something to watch. But I feel like them playing in their stadiums is going to be interesting to see how the whole thing plays out, see how, the COVID cases go. And I'm excited to just see teams traveling and to see how that affects their bodies, because obviously no other sport has that right now.
Very true. Very true. So we'll see how that goes. Maybe they decide to change that midway through. Also coming, the NHL does start pretty soon, beginning of August. But also, what I want to talk about a little is Rob Gronkowski has not played football in over a year. Lamar Jackson is the NFL reigning MVP. In Madden, Rob Gronkowski has a 95 overall rating. Your reigning MVP has a 94. Explain to me how that happens.
It does.
That doesn't.
Not only is he the MVP, he's also the cover athlete, which does not mean he should be a 99 overall, in my opinion. But besides that, a person that hasn't played football is going to be rated higher, or hasn't played football in over a year is going to be rated higher than your cover athlete. What sense does that even make?
That's obviously Gronk is not a bad player. He's a very good player, but first of all, I don't think Lamar should be as low as a 94. I think he had an exceptional year both throwing and running. And I made this point to someone else, one of my friends, but obviously there's a lot of other factors that go into it, but Lamar Jackson threw more touchdowns than Deshaun Watson on less throws. And now I know there's obviously a lot of things that go into it, like the offense, the way Lamar is able to move around the pocket way better than any other quarterback in the league. But on less throws to throw more touchdowns is, in my opinion, and it wasn't by 10 or so, it was by a good amount of throws, is extremely good overall. So passing stats have to be really good on Lamar Jackson, first of all. And I mean, everyone knows how fast Lamar Jackson is, right? What are you giving Gronk that he is better than Lamar Jackson, that he has retained and kept over the last year? Because let's be real, every video of Rob Gronkowski I've seen is him just partying. Not saying that he has to post videos of him training, because I don't know if he was. I don't know Yeah, I mean, he probably was to stay in like some kind of shape.
Well, he said he wasn't.
Okay, so even worse, like, okay, he's still huge. Don't get me wrong. He's probably still strong.
Yeah.
He's
Mm-hmm.
obviously training now. But
Yeah.
like, I don't understand how Lamar Jackson is lower than a 96. I feel like he should be a 96, 97. Second,
Yeah.
how is Gronk a 95? What was
Yeah.
his rating in Madden 19 when he was in it?
Don't know. I have to look that up.
Because
But like like look at besides even Rob Gronkowski, which one I don't think he should be a 90 overall. Obviously, it's hard to rate him. He didn't play last year and the season before. You know, he was still Gronkowski, but he still had those injuries, so like it
I'd
wasn't
give
like
him an
he
88.
was. Yeah, that makes more sense. Like I
You
just
can
don't
you
understand. Like he said, he didn't touch a football for like
you can
4
up it
months.
midway through the season if you really wanted to. Like if he's having an incredible year, up it to a 95. But the fact
Yeah.
that he's starting better than the NFL reigning MVP and the Madden cover athlete is stupid.
Yep.
And for anyone that is rated 90 or higher that worked their ass off last year, and Gronk, who, first of all, I don't even know if he was healthy, is maybe like a 92, 90 maybe. I don't think he's bad, but like he's not like a receiver the way a receiver is going to impact the game like the way most tight ends do. Like when you think of tight ends, I'm going to tell you like 3 tight ends: Kittle, Gronk, depending on how he plays with the Buccaneers,
Mm-hmm.
and Travis Kelce are probably the first 3 tight ends you think of. And then obviously you can throw in like, I don't even know. I can't even think of another extremely high rated tight end. Oh, okay, in Juku, the other guy the Browns signed. I can't think of names right now. But like, not bad tight ends. But like, I don't think they're on the George Kittle, Travis Kelce level. I don't even know if Gronk is there.
Yeah, I don't
Like
know.
George Kittle and Travis Kelce had amazing last few seasons.
Yeah.
George Kittle literally doing anything and everything, and Travis Kelce more or less doing the same, but going out for more passes because of the quarterback behind him. But like, if I was the 2 of them, I would also be pissed that Gronk got a higher overall than them. Because I don't even think the 2 of them are 95s, right? Kittle might be.
Kittle might be. Yeah. I just looked it up. Also, Gronkowski was a 99 in Madden 19, so
I don't even think he deserved to be a 99.
yeah, he was the cover athlete that year. So
Don't get me wrong. He
That's the only
he was
reason I
still a
think he gets
very
it.
good football player. Like I'm not saying he's not a good football player because he's obviously way better than majority of the league. But like, he hasn't played in over a year. He literally said he hasn't trained. All he's done is party. He hasn't touched the football. How do you give him a 95, which is better than your reigning NFL MVP and your cover athlete? The thought process behind that is just baffling.
Yeah, and if you look at even some of the players that are rated over Lamar Jackson besides Gronkowski, like, not that they're not great players, but like, they're like, he was a player that took a Ravens team who was on the decline and literally turned them into halfway through the season last year. They were the Super Bowl favorites. Like,
Yeah,
and that was all on him. He changed that offense. He changed that system. He changed that team. And you're gonna give him a 94 overall.
I also think that's extremely good coaching, by the way, and I'll say that in why in a second. But I think you can argue Lamar for a 99 based on this past year. I'm not saying he would stay a 99, but based on this past year, you could argue him for a 99 overall. Like the way he just moved that team. Now, obviously, I don't think they would give it to him because I feel like they want him to show what he can do for another year or two because this was his, I guess you can say, like real first year in the job because he took over for Flacco, right, the year before.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And what I mean by great coaching is Not the fact that everything they called was what they wanted to do, but they changed that offense to fit around Lamar Jackson. Most coaches will just be like, this is the offense we're running. Get used to it, learn it, and this is how the offense is going to be ran. Very similar to the way it's done in New England. If Lamar Jackson, like when Cam Newton goes to New England, it's going to be very interesting because I don't know if Cam Newton's going to be able to run a similar offense to the way he wants to, where he's going to be able to move out of the pocket, or if it's just going to be the straight short slant passes that Tom Brady did. Don't get me wrong, it works, but that's going to be interesting to see if Cam Newton's able to like move out of the pocket and move the way he wants to. But great coaching due to the fact that they run the offense the way it fits Lamar Jackson. They don't run it to the way they just want to run the offense. Because if they ran it to the way they wanted to run the offense, it might be a little better with Lamar Jackson the way it was with Joe Flacco, but that team was still good when Joe Flacco was there for the, I don't even know, 5-6 years? Like when he was like doing really well.
That was longer than that.
Like the offense clearly works a bit, but
years ago.
they changed their offense to fit Lamar Jackson, which helped not only the Ravens, but helped Lamar Jackson succeed more. Which I think will help them in the future because it's very similar to the way the Chiefs are doing it. And if you can clearly see, the two best teams in the NFL right now are moving their offenses to fit their quarterback instead of moving their quarterback to fit their offense, which I think is crucial. Because if you're just for example, like the best example I have is Cam in New England. New England has been a system team for I can't even tell you how long. Tom Brady has just fit that system, and that's what has made that team work so well. Cam Newton going in is obviously a much different quarterback. He's more like Patrick Mahomes. He's more like Lamar Jackson. But like if you put Lamar Jackson in that situation in New England, I don't know if he has the same kind of outcome or the same kind of success or the same kind of personal success, should I say? Because I think New England would still be a very good team. But I don't think Lamar Jackson has the same kind of personal success, which is what the Ravens set him up for. Which, if more or less they set Lamar Jackson up for success, which means the Ravens are going to be set up for success. But most teams won't do that. Most teams are just going to be like, yeah, come in, figure out this offense, learn it. You're going to run this offense with no changes or anything. Like maybe a change here or there, but like no major changes. Where this was Lamar Jackson's first year really taking over as like the number one quarterback of the team. When he came in for Joe Flacco the year before, and he was running into that offense, you could tell he was good. There's no doubt about that. But you could tell it was not the Lamar Jackson you saw this year. You could tell it was two completely different players. And I give props to the Ravens coaching staff. But at the same time, going back to the main point, Lamar Jackson should not be rated under a 96 or a 97. And the fact that Gronk is rated higher than him is absurd, in my opinion. And should just...
Yeah. I feel like it wouldn't get as much backlash if... I feel like Gronkowski's rating wouldn't get as much backlash if Lamar Jackson was rated higher than him. I feel like it's just like... That's such a sticking point to people. It's like a person who hasn't played football who hasn't been in the NFL in over a year, who hasn't trained in a few months now, or hadn't trained in a few months, is a higher rated player than the NFL MVP, which makes absolutely no sense. Like if you like you're saying Lamar Jackson 97, 98, 96, whatever you want to rate him, and Gronkowski's 95, you don't hear anything about it. It's not that Gronkowski doesn't deserve that rating. It's literally
Lamar doesn't deserve the 94.
Exactly. It's such a good point to make because Lamar doesn't deserve the 94, and Gronkowski's getting bashed for it, but he kind of deserves to if they're going to rate Lamar.
Yeah. And like as I'm saying, like if I'm Madden, right, you put Gronk at an 88 because I don't even think that's even a bad rating. I would consider that a really good rating for someone who hasn't played in over a year. Especially the position he plays at, you need to be physically strong and you need to be constantly training to get stronger. Like as a tight end, you need that strength to just block to like you're more or less like a sixth lineman that's more athletic to go out for passes. Like you're probably one of the most athletic people
Yeah.
on your team,
Yeah.
and he hasn't trained in over a year. I like even if they gave him like a 92, I'd be happy. I'm not really happy as a 95. I don't really care to be honest, but the fact that he hasn't played in over a year and you only bumped him down 4 overalls, like more or less, because the way Madden works, the Buccaneers are going to be so overpowered to use. Because that means Gronk at a 95 is going to have an X factor that you probably shouldn't have, which is just going to make that offense Brady, Gronk, Evans, and Goodwin. Or Goodwin. I don't even know his last name. I forgot. Godwin. Yeah. But, like, I believe all four of them have an X factor or something. I could be wrong, but, like, now you're just adding a 95 overall tight end because why not? I don't know. Dumb in my opinion. But moving on towards the end of the episode, the MLB starts tomorrow night. The NHL starts the beginning of August. No other sports are currently on TV at the moment. But we're going to put this up on the screen for you guys. The MLS has started I believe they're on the third round of games. Group A at top is Orlando City, tied with Philadelphia Union with 7 points apiece with 2 wins and 1 draw. NYCFC sitting in third with Inter Miami sitting in fourth. And I believe there are a couple third place seeds that do get out. I could be wrong because a couple teams left. 2 teams left in FC Dallas and Nashville. So I don't know if some third seeds will get out anymore. But at the moment, NYCFC is sitting at 3 points, so there's a chance. Toronto FC is atop Group B, tied with New England, sitting with 1 win, 2 draws at 5 points. Montreal Impact and DC United is in last. Group C, Real Salt Lake is atop, tied with Minnesota on 4 points. The both of them actually they're playing this morning. We're recording this on Wednesday. They're playing at 9 a.m., so I believe they're playing right now, Eastern Time. Sporting Kansas City is sitting on 3 with Colorado sitting at 0. Colorado needs to win in order to have a chance. If Sporting Kansas City draws or wins, I believe they will have a very, very good chance of moving on. Portland Timbers are atop Group D with 6 points, 2 wins out of 2 with LAFC sitting 1-4. Houston Dynamo on 1 with the LA Galaxy on none. And Columbus Crew have taken Group E as they went 3 for 3, taking all 3 games, wins, 9 points. The New York Red Bulls sit in second with 3, Cincinnati in third with 3, based on goal differential, and Atlanta United sitting at the bottom with 0. The New York Red Bulls and Cincinnati do play tonight on Wednesday, so the winner of that game will most likely move on. That would be a good game to bet on. Group F, San Jose is atop that group, winning 2 out of their 3 games, drawing the last one on 7 points. Seattle Sounders are in second, winning 1, losing 1, and drawing 1, so they are on 4 points. Chicago Fire and Vancouver do play tonight as well. If Chicago wins, they will jump Seattle Sounders and most likely move on. Vancouver sitting at 0 points, losing 2 out of their 2 games. Yeah, if I were you, I would definitely bet on the Red Bull game because that's probably a good game to bet on, as whatever team wins, they move on. So it's a big, big game for the both of them. So if you can, whoever you decide to pick for that one, I do think the Red Bulls are better than Cincinnati, although it is soccer and not every time does the best team win. Very similar to baseball, because there actually is a stat line of Barcelona, who everyone kind of knows as one of the better teams, playing a team called Celtic, who plays in the Scottish Premier Division. And Barcelona had like 80-something% possession. They had like 19 shots. Celtic had 1 shot, and they won 1-0. It's like FIFA.
I mean, look at the Vermont game last week, or
yeah, it was like Vermont.
Yeah, my bad. Vancouver. I forget who they were playing, but they had like 30% possession of the entire game. The other team had like 24 crosses, and the game was 4-3. Like, the other team absolutely dominated Vancouver, and Vancouver still almost won the game, which was mind blowing.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of sports are like that. Although I feel like football not so much. Like the better team normally wins. Baseball very similar, but at the
Yeah.
same time, like baseball could literally just be like you don't hit one day, and all of a sudden like the worst team beats you. Like trust me, I've seen that. I've played baseball for so long in my life that the best team does not always win. Um, I don't know. I feel like basketball very similar. The better team, like the better players normally win. Like it's very rare you see the better players lose. I feel like basketball is the biggest
Yeah.
export of that. Hockey, I don't know. I feel like hockey throughout the league is much more diversified in talent. Like there's obviously like the teams that like the Devils, for example, have had a high pick in the draft because they do it based on order, or like based on where you are the past couple years. But like I don't feel the Devils are too far out of like the middle group of teams, where like the top group of teams are very like close to the middle group, if that makes sense. Like the Rangers, for example, I would consider them a middle group of teams, but I don't think they're that far out on like I don't know the Las Vegas Golden Knights who join the league and all of a sudden they're just really good. But I think that's just I think the NBA is the best example of the better players normally win.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like that's the sport where if we, especially because they play the series in the playoffs, but I feel like you always have a higher chance to guess who's going to win based off the better team. And I feel like that's because there's a smaller amount of players.
Yeah.
Where you look at like football. I mean, obviously like the playoffs and it's one game. Like any team can win in football. It's like who came to play that day. And I feel like the perfect example is last year with the Titans in the playoffs.
Yeah.
They were the 60 going to the playoffs, and they go out. Who did they play week one? I don't even remember who they played in the wild card round.
Texans? No.
No, that was the Bills versus Texans. Anyway, besides that, then they go into
New England.
New England. Oh, they beat New England in round one. That's what it was. They beat them in wild card. So they go into New England, beat New England, end Tom Brady's dynasty there. Then in the second week of the playoffs, they go into Baltimore and Lamar Jackson, them NFL MVP, and they beat them too. And obviously they lose to the Chiefs, the Super Bowl champions in the AFC Championship. But like that's just a perfect example of football. I feel like sports like that are so enjoyable because yes, the better team still has the higher chance to win. They're the better team, but like if you get a team that's motivated, ready to play, wants to hit the other team harder, and I feel like hockey is the same way. It's like that team whoever's ready to play that day is gonna win, and I feel like that's what's great about those two sports.
Yeah, I can see that. I like that. But that is going to do it today for episode 7 of the Nosebleeds Section podcast. Thank you very much for tuning in. It comes out every Monday and Thursday at 3 p.m. And every day throughout the week, we do have little clips of the episodes that we just previously recorded coming out. So make sure you tune in. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see ya.